All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Under the Lights. My name is Nate, aka TC, also known as the Free Range Chicken, and with me today is Andrew, also known as Who Day All Day 88 and Mile High Salute 8 on Twitter.
Yeah.
And then also the man with the spreadsheets himself, Brett, All Day Fanatic on Twitter, and Bestea on the Discord Spaces. How are you tonight, fellas?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
I mean, doing great. We got a weekend of football. Can't ask for much more.
My head is still spinning. Like, first thing we get the playbook, and then the action that came along with the playbook. And I haven't had many weekends to sit around and literally do nothing. And this was the perfect weekend to just sit there on Saturday and watch a ton of college football. And then I backed it up on Sunday. It did nothing but sit around and watch a whole bunch of NFL. And it was about as good a weekend as I've had in a while.
It was almost the only, I guess you could say, bad thing would be that it was almost too much. It was overwhelming. They, blew our expectations out of the water with the playbook. But, they had us F5ing on their website all morning. We were looking forward to this challenge. We had to manage our fantasy teams. We had to buy and sell off the marketplace, figure out what challenges were, watch the actual football games themselves. It was just too much fun.
Andrew?
Yeah, I didn't have enough hands, didn't have enough phones, tablets, computers to do everything. Yeah, it was a lot, but it was definitely a great week one to the NFL season, minus, obviously the game.
Absolutely. Yeah, the game. That was the nice surprise of my weekend, especially after my Pitt Panthers lost to the Volunteers. But okay. So going into this, we get the announcement of the playbook. We see the first playbook thing of the Thursday night challenge that we had. What do you think? Like, what was your first thoughts when you first saw that come out?
Holy shit. They really went with the gamification aspect of the platform, and I didn't expect them to go that far with it immediately off the bat. I was thinking, they'll throw us a couple challenges for the first couple weeks, maybe a burning challenge. Can't wait to see what they have. But no, we get a challenge for every island game, the entire Sunday slate, an end of week challenge. They really embraced what the collectors wanted in terms of gamification, and they went for it, and it was unbelievable. The floor was at $3 before the announcement, and right now it's sitting at like what, $8?
It's 8,
Which
yeah.
is
It's $8.
It's pretty crazy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think we all had a little bit of an idea what was coming, obviously, because Wednesday night they announced it, and then we had the podcast and everything with AJ on, and I didn't really know what it was going to be like Thursday. Although, last Wednesday we didn't know what Thursday was going to be like because we already knew what we had to get. But yeah, it was just that anticipation of waiting to see, okay, what do I need now for these Sunday games? What do I need for the Sunday night game, the Monday night game? Just waiting to see what they were going to do and give us. It was, it was a lot to take in. It was a lot to handle, but I think overall it was, probably the best thing AD has done so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at Pulaski on Twitter, I don't know how you say it, but he did a great thread summarizing kind of the marketplace trends, and he highlighted how many new users or new collectors, bought moments over the weekend, and that was definitely something we talked about previously, was how are they going to get new collectors on board, and it was very, very successful over the weekend, it looks like, and I can't wait to see what they have in store for us moving forward.
I think what I really, really liked was, they tapped into really what we as collectors want, and that is the anticipation. So we had something to anticipate on Thursday. We had something to anticipate for Sunday, and then in the middle of it all, they dropped the 4th and goal packs on us. And then we had more for Sunday night, and then we had more for Monday, and it was just anticipation on top of anticipation on top of anticipation. And because there's such a short turnover between Monday and Thursday, there wasn't a whole lot of time for the market to take a dip or take a breather. I mean, it took a little bit of a breather on Tuesday, but before long, everything was going in straight to, not everything, common floor moments we're still going up. And, there's just a lot of spec buying. There's a lot of possibilities with where they can go with these playbook challenges. And I think everyone's just trying to grab as much of what they can while they can. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just like you talked about the small break on Monday morning or mid-afternoon, I was looking at this Thursday's game. So obviously Kansas City and the Chargers. So I had Eckler, Kelsey, Mahomes, and Herbert, and I just brought their commons up, looked at what the lowest, buy now would be for all of them, and it was like 202. I'm pretty sure if you look at that now, it's it might be pushing like 350 for the four of them. Like, it's ridiculous. And of course, I didn't have 202 at the time, so I didn't get any of them, and now I'm definitely not getting any of them.
Yeah, and I know a lot of our focus this week has been, do I sell a lot of my moments or do I go for the 100 yards? But to back up here a little bit, so first week of game action, they wanted to onboard a lot of new collectors. And something that's really, really cool about what they've done with this playbook is that a new collector with no moments in their collection could still achieve certain milestones or rewards. And all they had to do was, change their favorite team, log in for a week straight, and things of that nature, right? So if they didn't have a big collection to begin with, they could still unlock at least 2 packs, I think, and get a handful of commons, right? And they can slowly start building their collection that way. They get a handful of commons, maybe they sell, buy something else. They have to log into the website every day. The more you're on the website, the more you want to kind of achieve the next milestone, I guess you could say. The more they may, I will buy this Austin Eckler or, Travis Kelsey. So the way they're engaging the new collectors and actually giving them moments just for engaging with the site is really well done.
Andrew?
So I guess I do kind of have a question on that, though. I thought, is it not 1 and 2 you still had to do the premium? So they still would have had to have bought 5 and burnt 5.
I think you still had to burn 5 to unlock the packs, but you would still get banners and accolades.
Yeah,
I think.
that's true. I mean, you can do it for free.
Yeah,
at least the packs anyway.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, no, I do agree though. That is a good thing. I am kind of interested to see though what they do going forward. We went from what was it, like $20 last week to burn to now $40 this week to what's it gonna be next week if it's another 5.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're already putting people like 60 in the hole with nothing to show for it other than you can try to earn these, rewards, which I know you can burn up until midnight the day after the games. But I kind of feel like going forward they might have to start giving yards for the burning aspect itself, and then maybe making the challenges a little less.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I feel like people might not burn.
Yeah, and I do think the current precedent they set, where you have to burn 5 moments to gain access, I think that's going to change at some point.
Yeah. I mean,
it's going to switch it up. Yeah. I think they wanted to address scarcity. Did I say it right that time?
You did, yeah.
They wanted to address it, and they started off with burning 5 moments the first couple weeks. I don't think anybody's really going to complain about that. But yeah, if you are new to the playbook or new to all day, it's asking a lot to be like, hey, go buy 5 $8 moments and burn them to gain access to getting 3 more commons and whatnot. And for some of the listeners in here, right, as Hude said, you can burn at the end of the week. So just a suggestion is, if you're getting more reward packs coming, wait till you get those and then see if you have moments in there you want to burn instead of going out and buying them at the moment, because you may get all burnable moments. And also, you don't want to burn at the beginning of the week, because a random defensive player may actually hit in a challenge, and you may have burned them before you knew what the challenge was, right?
Yeah.
Correct. Now, and that's about where I was going to go on that. You touched on, you don't want people having to spend $40-50 on moments. So you are right. Like I'm doing the same thing. I think I burned one moment today, but it was one that I had basically had in surplus from the previous burn. But the rest of them, I'm just expecting to get out of these rewards packs. And then on top of that, it really we're gonna be burning enough through these first 2 to 3 weeks that by time we see the first pack drop of Series 2, it's gonna be those are gonna be the burn fodder. Unless you pull some great Lego or some great rare out of one of those Series 2 packs, a lot of those commons are going to go straight to the burn pile because they're going to be the kind of moments that are going to really want to be burned. They're going to be non-debuts, second, third, fourth moments of guys in the league. So I think that's really going to help Series 2 going forward, that they can do pack drops, and if we have the ability to burn them through these playbook challenges, and we've seen just through 1 week, we're at almost 150,000 moments burned already
Yeah. I
in
think Diamond said we'd hit that today.
2 weeks. Like, this is really going to open the door for AD to really be able to do, slightly more frequent pack drops than what they were planning. Like, I think we were all originally hoping for one every 3 to 4 weeks through Series 2, but if the playbook is allowing us to burn 150,000 moments every 2 to 3 weeks, then there's no reason they can't do them every other week and still maintain some kind of level of scarcity through both series.
Yeah, and there are, a ton of bottlenecks that are already appearing, and people are spec buying those insanely at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You have commons going, non-quarterback, non-badged commons going for 50, 70, 80 bucks, even 100 during a challenge.
Yeah.
And I did not expect that really. So they definitely gave them more room to play with when it comes to pack drops. It's easier to burn more than you want to and then release packs down the road than it is to just flood the market
Mm-hmm.
and then try to burn them later. So they're on that right pathway to where they can slowly drop more packs and gauge how many moments they want to introduce to the marketplace. And
Balance, man.
by the time,
Balance.
yeah, by the time we burn these moments this week, if they do another 5 moment burn for playbook week 3, a high key common is going to have like a rare scarcity level to it. And, all of a sudden this, $2 moment, people
Yeah.
are going to be like, hey, if he is filling in for somebody who's injured, it could be a $20 moment if there's only 3,000 in circulation. So
Yeah.
it kind of adds a cool element to the platform.
I mean, he's what?
Congratulations, Taylor Heineke. You are now in the
Yeah.
Move the Chain set.
Yeah, because you're now down to what, like 8,100 of those?
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, you can only now have, you're talking 8,100 base set total completions,
Yeah.
which, the more you bring that down, the better for commons across the board, at least the commons that are in that base set. But yeah, I mean, everything they've done the last 3-4 days, yeah, all the way really up until last Wednesday. So last week, it's been nothing short of exceptional. Definitely some things that they can probably work on, but for week 1,
Oh, yeah.
I don't really think anybody can have any like major complaints with
No.
what went on.
No.
So I do wonder, what was your guys' thought process in regards to completing the challenges? Did you ever think maybe I should sell out of it, or were you gunning for 100 yards the whole time? How did you kind of play the playbook for week 1?
I personally, my plan changed like 8,000 times. Like I was like, oh, I'll do all these, but at the same time, if it costs too much, I don't know if 15 yards is really worth it. So I skipped the Thursday night challenge because I just thought paying 80, 90, 100 bucks for that Gabe Davis moment was just a little bit absurd. So I skipped out on that one. So then I get into the middle one. And I was like, we'll see what the next challenge is. If it hits something in my collection, maybe I'll just, I'll sell into it. And turned out to be something that I could complete fairly easily. So I did and got some yards there. And I started, kind of playing with the numbers. And I figured at worst I was going to end up with about 60 yards, just by really not trying to complete it. I'd get about 60 yards in a few moments, and I'd have been happy at that, a chance at a rare. And then, what was it? It was Sunday night. Oh, it was when they announced the Sunday night and Monday night challenges, and I looked at the Monday night one and I was like, well, that's easy. I got that in the bag, and all of a sudden that got me to 80 yards, and so then I started looking at that Sunday night challenge. I was like, I mean, I'm $80 from getting to 100, so all right, let's go. Dipped into the plastic and. I'd already sold a bunch of other stuff that I had sitting, so I kind of last minute called an audible, made a U-turn, and went back and got to 100. So no regret, there's no buyer's remorse here. So I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was pretty much 100 all the way. Once I knew that you didn't have to do every challenge, and it was like Friday morning. At first, I wasn't going to do that Thursday night challenge. But then Friday morning, I was like, what happens if, Brady's needed for the Sunday night? And I was like, there's no way I can get a Brady. So I was like, oh, all right. I went ahead and did it, bought everything. And then immediately, as soon as that challenge closed, Gabe Davis, I think, was going for like 90 at the time. I listed one immediately for like 75, and it sold instantly. And then not even 40 seconds later, it was down at like $40. And so I was like, all right, I've kind of figured out a way to do this. So literally at the end of every challenge, I just took whatever moment I had that had risen the most and immediately listed it right at closing. And it probably saved me over the weekend probably $150 once I factor in where people ended up after the fact. And I got the 100. I could have done 115, but I didn't see the point in doing the Monday night challenge when the end of week one was pretty much already done from keeping stuff from the previous 4 challenges or 3.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the market was.
I have
Go
one.
ahead.
I have one question on that last point. Who in the hell are these people that are buying those moments at that price at closing? What are they thinking?
Yeah,
I'm glad they're there, but
yeah, I mean, I just kind of
Bot,
Yeah, could be.
exactly. I mean, that's
Could be.
pretty much the way I thought it. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna beat the bots. Like, we all know they're there. They're probably looking at these challenges. So I was like, all right, if Gabe Davis gets up to 100, whatever, I'll just list it for 25% less. Someone's gonna buy it. And it turns out the guy that bought mine also bought another one like not a second, but like a minute after for like 65, and then immediately turned around and sold both of them for like 30, like a half hour later. So I don't know if it
a
was
little bit of regret in there.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, but it happened every challenge. I was able to do that, except I didn't do it the last challenge because at that point those moments hadn't really jumped a whole lot from what they were at, and then there was just really no need at that point to sell them.
I mean, the market has been absolutely wild, and in a lot of situations, there have been moments that maybe they dipped after the challenge ended, but they've actually rose to past what they were previous to the challenge. Because they're in an island game, and this week or next week, people are already spec buying all of those commons and rares that may be needed. And I mean, it's absolutely insane to see some of the prices of these Chiefs and Chargers for tomorrow night. I remember when Juju was around $10, and I was like, "Hey, everybody, Juju is receiver 1 for Mahomes. He should be 15, $18. I got one. I'm not a stacker. I wish I was, and he's what, mid-30s now. It's insane, but it's cool to see.
So, what did you do with your yards? What did you do?
Yeah, I cast a wide net. So there's just so many moments I want. So I kind of have one of everything that I want. I don't really stack. I hate, if a player gets injured or if they suck, or I don't know, if the market goes down on a player, I don't want to be holding 15 of a single player. That's just not how I collect. I kind of like to have a lot of diversity and kind of get one moment of every player that I like. So when the playbook and the challenges were announced, it didn't really make it easy for me. I'll say it that way, because there was no flexibility in what you had to own. So, for example, having the top 5 and that led in rushing yardage, if I had the top 5, great. Well, I can't sell anything else for profit because I have to keep those 5 for the challenge. If it was have 5 of 10 or 4 or 5, I would have some flexibility to sell out from some of those I didn't need. So I was kind of on the fence on what I wanted to do. But I mean, it's the first week of the playbook. I live all day. I just had to do the challenge,
Yeah.
just for entertainment purposes. I'm I may not, make my money back, but I had a lot of fun doing it, and that's kind of what it's for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Uh, but for the first difficult decision was what I should do with Gabe Davis, because I had every pass catcher on on those offenses, receivers, running backs. I didn't have a Gabe Davis though. Of course, that's how it always works out.
Right.
And I was like, oh, he may dip before the challenge ends. It's not sustainable at 100. No, he sat right there, the whole day. So I bought one because I figured the challenges could get more expensive moving forward, and I wanted more flexibility throughout Sunday and Monday. And that did kind of work out because that Sunday night was super expensive, or it could have been super expensive,
Yeah.
but Julio Jones kind of saved us all. But of course, I didn't have a Julio Jones. So I had a Godwin,
Yeah.
I had a Tony Pollard, two rares that didn't have a common, but and I couldn't stack anybody else. You had to have a Julio Jones. So I kind of spent up for a Julio Jones, but then luckily I had everything else I kind of needed for the rest of the week. So I did get the 100 yards, and when I go back and look at what I will be getting in total from all packs, I still think it's really worth it, especially when you
Yeah.
look at the floor,
Yeah.
because I totaled it across all the packs I'm going to get. I'm going to get 9 commons. That's at least $100 if I get like the worst of everything possible.
And that's a much higher worst than it was just a few weeks ago.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Imagine.
your worst used to be $26.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and one of the things in regards to that, and I actually sold a lot of my top 5 running backs today because I think 4 of the 5 only had roughly 60 to 65% released. So I'm expecting that a lot of those commons are going to be in these reward packs. So I could sell now. I'm selling high. So if we're going to see another 20-25% of the supply of these moments hit, there's nothing saying that I can't just, after this drop, maybe buy those back for 10, 15, $20 less.
yeah, that's my game plan with Carson Wentz, because they had to stick him in launch codes. That was the worst part of the weekend. Carson Wentz being in launch codes. Every launch code collector just was defeated. They had to shell out, north of $90 for a Carson Wentz rare. Not really what we had planned out for the set, but
You
I'm
know
still
what?
holding out hope it dips.
No, nobody's crying for you. It's like, oh, you got one bad moment in your set.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm not happy that they released that Tyler Boyd finally. I was like, okay, they're just not going to release it. They're not going to do anything with it. And then they drop him. Like, son of a, like, I don't want to go out and get
Yeah.
him, but thankfully he has, kind of come down
Yeah.
from what he started at.
Yeah, and being
Apollo,
locked
who
in
is-
helps.
Yeah, Apollo, who's captain of the launch code set, just DM'd me fucking Wentz. And hey, all of us share that sentiment. Yeah. But yeah, back to the packs. You get 9 commons. It's at least $100, and that's on the worst end of it, right? If you hit a Allen, a Chase, any of the, there's so many commons in the $50 range right
yeah.
now. So
Yeah.
that could easily be 200, and then you
Yeah.
also get 2 commons with a chance at a rare. So I don't know what the odds will be, but I'm guessing combined you have 25% chance at a rare between those
Yeah.
2 commons. Just
Yeah.
a general guess. And then you get a guaranteed rare that has a chance at a legendary. So add all that together, I think I'll definitely net a positive when it comes to money. I definitely could have made a lot more if I sold out of everything immediately. I had a Dalvin Cook, but I kept it because if he hit, I wanted to have it.
Yeah.
But of course, the smart move would have been to sell it. But hindsight's 2020. I'm happy with how the weekend unfolded.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really complain. So, in the 5 packs, is it 3 special edition commons?
Which pack you
I-
talking about?
Well, all 5 combined. I think you're guaranteed to get 3 of the special edition commons at a minimum.
I didn't put that in there because it's kind of a lot to take in, but I can go through it right now. I have the page up. So in the first pack, it's just a base set moment.
Yeah.
The second pack, you get a it's either a special edition or common base. So you're not guaranteed a special edition in the first 2 packs. In the 3rd pack, you are guaranteed a special edition moment or a rare.
And then the same for the 4th, and then
Yeah,
the 5th
but
one
it's an
is
increased,
2 base.
increased chance
Yeah.
at a rare in that, but also a guaranteed special edition if you don't hit a rare.
Yeah, so I mean, if you hit a special edition, offensive player, definitely you're looking at probably $50-$60 depending on who the player is.
Well,
So I mean, right now I'm like maybe 100 under on my value, but when I factor in what I've bought after and what I still have like to spend, I'm probably up like 130 right now. So once I factor in the packs, like I'm definitely gonna be up even higher than that.
Yeah, I also ended up spending up for Cordero Patterson over the weekend, but I spent up for his rare instead of the common because the common was just insanely inflated.
Yeah.
So I haven't sold it yet because I do think it's a moment to hold because he seems to be doing pretty good in that offense. But I could sell that moment and get some money back, so I'm not counting that into the equation. Same thing. I did already sell the Gabe Davis. I did not expect it to sit at where it's at right now. It's kind of ridiculous, but they do play Monday night, another island game. So fingers crossed you don't need another Gabe Davis, and then I'll probably buy back after that. Who knows?
It's funny on the running back challenge. I started buying them early. Like as soon as I saw somebody have like a nice start, and I think Cordero started at like 4 or 5 carries for like 32 yards. So I bought him immediately at like $22. And then it just kept going and going and going. And same with DeAndre Swift. I got DeAndre Swift at a good price too, real early because he started at like 30 yards on 4 carries, something like that. So I mean, I expect conservatively if there's such a thing, you know. But like you said, I was expecting more of a dip, and it just never did. Like all these moments are just kind of holding up. So at least at this point in the marketplace, I spent probably more than you guys did to complete these. I had $300 in DAP that I went through, and I dipped into my personal account a little bit too. So I probably was in that 350 range. But with what I've already sold, which I probably got back 75% of that money so far. With what I got out of these packs, I think I'm easily going to be in the positive. I mean, I don't see any reason there's any way not.
2 major factors in that, right? Is the floors have risen since we made those decisions, and also the moments didn't dip as much as we thought. So I think everybody's sitting, better than they expected at the end of the week.
Yeah.
How much better do you think those that first round of celebration packs would have went over if the marketplace was in this spot as compared to where it was when we got them?
I don't think a single person would have complained.
Not one. Yeah. Now I wish I had all those moments still.
Yeah, I'm now hoping we get those reward packs before tomorrow night's game, so you may have some moments to play with instead of having to go buy something.
I do.
Yeah, I at least kind of hope they're there before it ends.
Yeah,
at least before like Friday.
I do think that hopefully. I wish they would have teased this a little bit more than they did. And maybe they just kind of came up with it as it went along, and that certainly happens. But if there was any way to kind of let us know, and it just, we were in such a state of despair when we just, all common, we were in that mode. All commons are junk. What do we want these for? Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing for it. So I think if we had a slight inkling that this was coming at all, I think our mindset would have been different. Now when it actually happened, it's like kids on Christmas, right? This is great. I think we all could have made better decisions with our collections had we at least had a little bit of an inkling. But if there was nothing to give, then there was nothing to give too. So I could see both sides of it.
Just looking back, Brett, you said you had the Dalvin Cook. I literally packed him on the way to getting married, and I sold him probably a week later because he just kept sitting there and he wasn't going up, wasn't going down. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just sell this guy. And then not even a month later, he went up to, I think I sold him for 100, and I think he was sitting at 140 or something like that. I'm like, all right, whatever. And then on Saturday, I see him get up to $400. I'm like, what the, like,
Yeah,
what was I doing? And then, I've had a Barkley, a Herbert, and all these ones that jumped off and they literally did nothing for 2 months. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, probably should have kept that.
yeah, don't beat yourself up too much. Profit is profit.
Yeah.
When you do take profit, you can't really complain about it. And also, if you reinvested that $100 or whatever, if you bought any common, it probably paid for itself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. I think I did actually, use his sale to get my Chase debut.
There you go. There you go. I don't know how much that worked at all, but
it hasn't really done a whole lot. But
by the way, Andrew, your cat was the star of the first half of the show. By the way,
yeah. I'm assuming Cobalt was watching.
No, it was Joshy and and JDN. I'm not sure what JDN's Discord name is. They're JDN says Kitty. And Joshy says I'm mesmerized by Huday's cat on the fridge.
Yeah, well, he was just sitting on, I'm in the kitchen obviously, so I'm on our countertop, and on my stove I have the ring light. He was sitting behind the ring light, biting where you can stick your phone to hold it, and I'm just like, please, for the love of God, do not knock this off.
Well, we've lost 4 viewers since the cat jumped off the fridge, so clearly you're gonna have the cat with you next time we're on the pod. You hold him on your lap or something.
Yeah, little baby Bjorn him. I'll just get a baby carrier.
It's a secret, green screen with the cat kind of walking around outside on a loop. People won't notice.
JDN is crazed, by the way, in the Discord.
Okay.
Nice.
All right, so let's pivot to the one coming up. New playbook. We just started. We all grabbed a few yards today. What are your thoughts on the start of that, and what are you thinking for Thursday? What's your challenge specs?
Well, it's hard to say. I think they'll kind of just stick with, offensive players mainly. I know a lot of people are saying they're ignoring the defensive side of the ball. They did add a couple of defensive moments that were required throughout the week last week. You had to have, a player that played a snap. It's not that exciting, but, they did add a defensive player in there at the end of the week challenge. They included another defensive player, I believe. I think when you look at what their options are, there's a lot more bottlenecks that could pop up when you look at the defensive side of the ball than there are the offensive side of the ball. And stats are typically a little bit more fluky when it comes to interceptions and sacks and who gets them. And I don't know. I think their hands are tied. And I mean, people are just so excited about fantasy football as well, and they focus on the offensive side of the ball. So I think it's okay if they don't really do 50-50, That's just what it is. But I mean, they'll obviously add defensive players here and there, and they should do that. But when it comes to what the challenges should be, I have no clue. I hope they mix it up. I hope they add something where it gives you a perk for having a rare or a legendary. I think that was one of the biggest, not complaints, but some constructive criticism or feedback last week was, hey, a lot of these people are holding these rares and legendaries, and they didn't really move at all. You had all these commons pumped 50%, 100% even. Meanwhile, all the rares
offensive commons.
Yeah,
that's true. But I mean, the floor is $8, so 3 to 8.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I lost my train of thought. That's my ADHD for you. Right. What was I saying?
We were talking about the spec for Thursday, and you were on the. You didn't know where they were going to go.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That I don't know where I'm going with that as well. So. The rares and legendaries.
That's right.
That was a common theme in terms of feedback, because if you had stacked commons, it was the absolute best week you could hope for.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, they may be complaining here and there, but it's only been 1 week of the playbook. They have so many different directions they can go, a lot of different levers they could pull. So I'd give it a couple weeks before, I would actually get upset about how they're constructing these challenges, because I mean, they're listening to us. They asked for feedback on every platform, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people gave their opinions, and they seem to actually be considering them. So, and I think it's they won't be able to implement those immediately as well. So, after 3 or 4 weeks, if it's only commons, nothing's really changed, it's the same format. I can see people maybe getting, trying to scratch another itch with rares and legendaries, and may have a reason to be upset. But no, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, even with commons this week still.
Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think with the island games, they're like you said, they kind of have their hands tied behind their back. Like you don't want to just throw out like a defensive challenge, especially on like a Kansas City Chargers game. Like that's not what people are expecting out of that game. They're expecting Mahomes and Herbert to throw for 10,000 yards and 150 touchdowns.
When has All Day done anything we expected, though?
True. I mean, they really haven't. But I feel like for the island games, it's always going to kind of be something, along the lines of, whoever scores a touchdown, you need to own that moment, like they did on the Monday night, or something along the lines of maybe they'll do whoever has a rush. You could have, a random wide receiver that nobody really expected to do anything, and they wind up with a rushing attempt. Assuming they have a moment. Otherwise, it doesn't really mean a whole lot. But yeah, I've been banging the drum all week. Like, I really don't expect them to be doing anything with rares and legendaries in the playbook, especially right now. Maybe down the road. They want to bring new people in, and I meant to ask this at the beginning. You mentioned Pulaski's tweet about new users. How many, off the top of your head? I mean, I guess you can just give a guess. Do you know how many new users it was?
Pulaski on Twitter has a thread on that. I don't want to go digging for it right now. That would be some dead air. But I would
we
go
can
over
talk.
there. Yeah, okay.
I'm assuming it's probably like a couple thousand new users. And I mean, if that's the case, I mean, if you throw in a rare and a legendary in these playbook challenges right off the bat, you're not getting those 2,000 people. So I feel like at least for the first month, maybe two, I think it's going to lean heavy towards commons. And you might see the chance, like with Monday Night Penny or Homer, that would have been the biggest, like, oh shit, like what are we going to do? Because he only has the legendary. Like, I think they'll do stuff like that where it might hit, or Dalvin Cook even. But I really don't think we're going to see anything like, yeah, you need a rare, you need a legendary in order to complete this challenge, because you're trying to get these new users in. And unless these new users are coming in with like 10 grand, they're not going to have, a rare, let's just say it's a Mahomes rare that you need. Like,
I have an answer for
you. No
you.
new users are going to have that.
So it's actually at Joseph D. Robbins. He has the great thread on this. But there were 17,600 unique buyers for the month of September so far. And we're only halfway through September. So
I think
unique buyers.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah.
I think we were somewhere around like 10 or 12 before it all exploded, right?
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot more than 10 or 12, I don't think.
So I agree with you guys at pretty much everything you've said. I do think that, when it comes to these challenges, they do want to keep it easy. The fantasy aspect is going to play a part. So the challenges are always going to lean offensive, but I think they're going to have to really pay hard attention to balance within the market, because you can't have, top 5 running backs and top 5 wide receivers commons, pushing $80 to $100 because they're in playbook challenges every week. Meanwhile, you have top, commons of defensive players like, Bosa and Watt, and, pick your poison, right? I don't think it's really the right way to go to constantly be pushing at one aspect, of all the moments on the market. They're going to want to try to impact it, at least in a somewhat balanced way, so that people have a reason to hold on to those defensive moments beyond just their fandom.
So can I push back just a little bit?
Sure.
Because I totally get what you're saying, but it's just that's what the marketplace has decided at some point, right? They'd rather have these offensive players; they're more fun. And don't get me wrong, the defensive players have plenty of utility. They're what we're burning. We need burnable moments.
Yeah.
No, it's
Well,
just it's tough because I understand 100% what you mean in terms of making sure that every moment has a reason to be on the platform, but at the same time, they're not the ones saying, "Hey, this moment is worth $80." We're just deciding to buy them and sell them at that price. And
Yeah.
same thing comes with the defensive moments. So I do wonder what they're going to do with that moving forward because I mean, obviously they're giving offense a lot of love,
right.
not really much to defense, but I don't want it to be too. I don't want them coming in and being like, "Okay, you know what? Defensive players are not valuable right now. Let's make them valuable just arbitrarily, by
Right.
adding in something that we're not really needing or looking for. But at the same time, they do need to get some love at some point.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll push back on your pushback. You're 100% right. And, as we're onboarding new users into the platform and stuff, you absolutely want to showcase the offensive players because, like you said, they're the marquee guys. Everybody goes for the quarterbacks and wide receivers, right? But the majority of these guys aren't 60, 70, $80 just because the market has decided so. The market has decided that it wants these rewards and it's willing to pay upwards of 50 some dollars for a Russell Gage common that was $5 before the challenge happened, right? So like any moment can be given desire by adding enough of a reward on the back end. So, I'm not saying that the defensive players need to be 60, 70, $80, but somebody like Joey Bosa or, I know he doesn't have a common, but Khalil Mack, it's like these guys should be in that $40, $50 range. They're legitimate stars, right? They're some of the best play. Aaron Donald, same thing. They're some of the best players in the league, and they're severely lagging these offensive players, not because just of popularity, just it has to do with the playbook that's pushing them as well. So I just think we're gonna see a little bit more balance, and like I had mentioned as far as what Andrew had said about being about the Chargers and the Chiefs and Mahomes and Allen, and everybody's gonna be looking for that, right? And every time we look for something, they do something different. So
Yeah.
I happen to be looking at the available moments, and if you want a fairly easy one to start, I looked at the sacks because if there's five guys between the two teams that have a defensive moment that could technically easily get a sack. All right, there's 3 on one team, 2 on the other team. If 3 of those guys get sacks, okay, you got to collect 3 moments. They're all reasonably low priced. Okay, now we're raising that floor just a little bit, right? It might not go to 60, 70, $80, but for $15, for 15 yards, it might go to 30, 40, $50, which will generally be overall good for the market.
Right. Agreed. But let me push back on your pushback on
the
my
pushback. Okay.
Yeah. All valid points, but we have to look at what do the collectors want and what would they find fun? Because if they on Thursday night they say, okay, you need to have 5 moments of players who have a tackle or whatever. People are going to be like, I need a Tershawn Wharton? Okay. I need who is this player? I don't know what I need. Who is this? I don't know if people would find that as fun as like, hey, you need, I don't know, a rare of either Mahomes or Herbert, whoever has, the most touchdown passes.
Hey,
or
people were
like that.
spec buying Scotty fucking Miller.
I get that. I get that. But it's just you're always going to have those edge cases based on the challenge and what you need, and people are going to spec buy it up to $100, no matter if it's a kicker, defensive player, offensive player.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're going to want to make it more fun with players that we know. You know what I mean?
I do. I just our difference of opinion is our difference of opinion. I just think the thing people want more than anything else is rewards. What do I need to get rewards? And to me, that's number one. So again, you could have somebody farting into a jar, and if it was part of a reward challenge, they would buy it.
You know what? AJ has a great quote on this because this has been brought up a few times, of course. And AJ says they want to reward collectors for collecting what they want, and a lot of people are going to have receivers and running backs because that's what they want. And so as soon as you need a Tershawn Wharton and some other, third string linebacker on the Chargers, you're forcing people to go out of the way to buy something they didn't already have because they didn't want it initially. But of course, that's going to happen with the Russell Gage, as you
Yeah,
said, or Scotty
exactly.
Miller
Yeah,
and
yeah.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Hude, you break the tie. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I agree with both of you. My stance on it is I don't see how they can kind of do a defensive challenge on an island game. I feel like it's gonna, like Brett, like you said, it's gonna make people go out and be like, all right, who the hell do I need to get on the Sunday slate and the end of the week stuff? I think that's the area where they can focus on the defense. Sunday they can do something like you need somebody with 5+ tackles, somebody with a sack, somebody with an interception, and then a team moment that's a defensive play, like something like that. Like now you're attracting a bunch of people to go get those defensive moments. You're gonna get people who are gonna go and get like your Aaron Donald, like he'll get a sack on Sunday, or a Trey Hendrickson. People were buying him up this morning. Like he should get a sack against Dallas. I don't know how he didn't sack Trubisky all last week, but whatever. Like you're gonna doing it in those areas where you're covering like 10 to 12 games. I think that's where you can go ahead and do your defensive challenges. But yeah, I feel like on the Monday night, Sunday night, and the Thursday night games, it's really just tough. Like you want people to be engaged with the platform and enjoy watching the game. And I kind of feel like if you're like, okay, pay attention to the defense on this game, and people are just like, all right, yeah, I'll take a pass on that. Like, it's probably gonna be super easy, which is probably what a lot of people are going to want to see, like a $40 challenge. But I kind of think it might be something that people would just kind of look over.
I mean, you make a great point, and doing more of a defensive challenge when it spans more games, because there definitely are not a lot of there are a lot of obvious bottlenecks if you do it on an island game. But also, it could be a lot of fun during a Sunday slate game or challenge, because we had to do the top 5 rushers for that previous one. If they did, you need to have the top 5 players with the most sacks. I think that would be fun for a Sunday slate challenge at some point, because people would be spec buying, or Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Chris Jones, and that would be pretty fun because people know the edge rushers. They'll be rooting for their team's edge rusher to get a sack. So there's definitely ways they can make it fun like that. Yeah.
Well, I'll counter that by bringing the example of the touchdown scorer challenge for Monday night, right? You had probably 7 to 8 guys combined between the two teams that had moments that wouldn't have been a surprise to catch a touchdown, right?
Yeah.
So what happened? How many touchdowns do we typically see during a game? Maybe 4 or 5 on average.
On a good game.
Right. Okay. So we had two touchdowns by players with moments, right? Made for an easy challenge. But what happens if Travis Homer scores? All he's got is a legendary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody's completing that sucker, and because it's a hoodwinked. It's only a 39 min, right? So, and then same thing on the other side of the ball. Like, what happens if there's a pick six? What if Patrick Surtain, who's got one common and a legendary? What if he hits? You know what I mean? And you can do the same thing with a sack challenge. With if you got 5 guys who are reasonably expected to be in contention for a sack in a game, you got a whole bunch of secondary guys who aren't necessarily expected to get a sack, but could get a sack and could end up having a moment, or and have a moment at the same time. So I see something like a single game a sack sort of challenge as a good opener to the week, because one, it could be very easy if nobody gets sacks, so there's only 1 or 2 guys with sacks, and it happens to be top guys, then okay, it's a pretty easy complete for a lot of people. So I kind of see those two things similar, but I agree with you still. Like, you could easily do, have the top 5 tackle guys from the Sunday slate. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do in both directions, and I generally think it will lean offensive, but I don't think that just because that's the defensive side of the ball that it makes those island game challenges harder. It could make it more variable. You could go into a situation where all hell breaks loose, or you absolutely
Yeah.
nothing happens.
It
So-
definitely depends on the teams that are playing. But I did compile, all active players on
Of
the island
course you
games.
did. Of
I
course you
did.
did.
There's a spreadsheet for it.
He's the compiler.
And there definitely is a trend of more obvious bottlenecks on the defensive side of the ball, depending on how you gear up the challenge. But of course, that's not saying there's not obvious bottlenecks on the offensive side of the ball. Like that Sunday night game could have got really expensive if there's a trick play and Brady caught it, or if Julio didn't catch the longest pass, if it was
Yeah.
any of Godwin, Evans, Pollard, or Zeke who only have a rare. That would have been a really, really expensive challenge. But
Yeah.
I mean, if he didn't have that catch, it was Godwin, I think.
Yeah, he caught a kind of a screen pass, I think, at the beginning of the game, and I was like, great, I have him.
Yeah, it was like a 26-yard pass, 28-yard pass. So yeah, that wasn't an easy catch that he made. So yeah, if he doesn't make that catch, like that wouldn't have been a challenge I would have completed, because I'm not going to go out and spend what Godwin would have went up to. I mean, he probably would have hit. I mean, I think he did hit 200 at one point, didn't he?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't going to spend that.
Other than incorporating defensive players, what would you guys want to see incorporated moving forward for the challenges? I know we touched on rares and legendaries, maybe giving you a yards bonus or something like that, but what else do you guys see? Because I've mentioned and talked about on Twitter before about using team moments at the end of the week, that end of the week challenge, if you had to have 5 of the winning team, their team moments. What do you guys think?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you on the team moments. I think they have to kind of do something around them, whether it's like, teams that get a win, or, even break it down based off of, like I said earlier, the defensive plays on like a team moment.
Yeah.
So doing that somehow, like, I don't really know how they would do that off the top of my head, but I'm sure
you could
there's people that are smart enough who can figure it out. But
I mean, you could do it. You could do it something like, the top 5, the top 5 teams with the most turnovers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something
so
like
many
that.
different ways they could take it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I mean that's my probably number one as well, would be the team moments. I mean, I guess you can try to figure out a way to use punter.
So
I don't want that.
I would like the twist of having to submit a lineup before the games begin. At least one challenge a week, maybe for the Sunday slate, where you have to submit up to 5 running backs, and if all 5 are in the top 15 in rushing yards, for example, you complete the challenge. Or maybe it's like you submit 5, if one of them are top 5 in rushing, you complete the challenge. Even like a weekly pick'em would be really cool, or not really quite survivor pool, but you pick one, you submit one team moment, and if they win that week, you complete that challenge. Something where you have to decipher, what you have, how you think they're going to do that week, and submit it before the games actually begin would be kind of a fun twist, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that would be cool. It likely falls into my bonus yards idea category, to where it's likely just not something that the challenge builder is capable of right now. Like Diamond had said today in ADU, is that there's no way for it to recognize, like they put in who you need, you enter it, and then it verifies it, basically. So like having, a top 10 and doing the top 5 out of that, I guess it just doesn't have the ability to differentiate that from that yet. So
like Daniel replied to you on Twitter, I think.
Yeah, he said that they're wanting to work on that. It's definitely something they're eyeing.
I mean, but basically where we've started, I mean, it's great. Like we all have the ideas on how we can expand and how we can better use our own personal collections to do better in these challenges. And, a lot of our opinions come from that. But I like how open-ended it is. It's just because we're here now doesn't mean that's where we're going to be. I mean, I saw the other day where AJ was soliciting more ideas for challenges and what we wanted to see from some of this stuff. So I think the door is wide open right now, and you can go in any direction, and it would probably work pretty well. And as more players start getting moments and stuff, and I think that one thing that became abundantly clear to me today, or this weekend at least, was that how many players actually don't have moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you
Or
realize
no common.
Yeah.
or no common, right? Like there's we you know, a lot of us were like, man, there's just so many moments, so many moments, so many moments. You watch these games, you're like, holy crap, most of these guys don't have one. You know, it's a bottleneck in itself. So there's still a lot of there's still a lot of debuts that are going to come out in series 2, and I think that's great.
So with that, I think we can transition into a pretty big dropping left in the all-day Discord, as we call it, the all-day droppings, when we get some information by a mod or from a mod. AJ did mention that they're going to mix in new season 2 moments in this week's Playbook packs.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, is that news to you?
That was news to me. I did not see that.
Yeah, we are already getting new
week
season
2.
2 moments. Yeah,
for week 2, not for week 1.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
clarify.
right.
Because when you kind of look at the numbers, they're running out of rares and legendaries from season 1 to add into these packs. They still have plenty of season 1 commons. So I think that's going to add a fun twist to this week's Playbook packs.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to stick with, commons of players that already have moments, but, they only have a rare or a legendary to kind of eliminate a couple of bottlenecks. Or are they going to come out with rookie debuts? Or are they going to come out with debuts of players that are not rookies? That's something I'm looking forward to. And with that news, I'm sure we'll get a blog at some point where they will update us on the season 2 sets and mint counts. So there's definitely a lot to look forward to this week as well.
Yeah, I do kind of think they're already going to have to go against their not wanting to give rares or legendaries as a debut for season 2. Minka Fitzpatrick, I hate saying this.
Bring it, baby. Let's go.
He literally had like the best defensive game a player could literally have in any week. And he has no moment right now, correct?
Yeah, correct.
He's a Steeler, so I definitely don't track that crap. What he did week 1, you cannot make that a common. I'm sorry, you can't.
No.
Pick 6, second play of the game, 14 tackles, 10 of them were unassisted.
Blocked extra point.
Sure blocked the extra point. I want to say he didn't have the strip sack, correct?
No.
Okay, but still, so he did all of that. You cannot make that a common.
No, that's a legendary player melt.
I'll be upset if they make that a common. Like, so you already kind of have to go against your comment that they had made about not wanting to do rares or legendary debuts in season 2.
Well, did they say that they didn't want to do rare and legendary?
They did say that. They did say
cool.
that.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep track. So I'm okay with that if it's a debut and not a rookie debut.
Yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on the rookie debuts, because I didn't realize they said that they wouldn't be rares and legendaries already. Because I was really wondering how they were going to sprinkle, the rookie debuts across the tiers or sets and whatnot. I would like for the rookie debuts to be in one set or like all at one mint count. And I kind of was having some fun on Twitter today because I know they said that the rare tier could go up to 2,500, I believe.
24.99. Yep.
Right. So theoretically, you could have a common that's 2,500, and I think that would be a really cool rookie debut set at 2,500. Yeah. Keep it really scarce. I can't say the word. Because Top Shot, they have the rookie debuts at 4K. I don't really know how low you want to get with those or what you want to do with them, but I definitely think they should be in one kind of defined set, and that would be a lot of fun for collectors to collect, because I know for me moving forward, that's what I'm going to be looking to collect, those rookie debuts of players I like and on the Kansas City Chiefs.
No, I agree with that.
I agree with you. Like it would be cool to have all those rookie, because they kind of did the same thing with Top Shot. They had like the 4K rookies. They were all basically a 4,000 mint, at least in the second series they were. And that was kind of cool because it added a little bit of scarcity to it and really kind of, made them feel more important. As far as the Minka Fitzpatrick one, you know what? There's going to have to be some exceptions. And there is no way you can do anything other than make that his debut moment, right? And if it's going to be a legendary player melt, it's going to be a legendary player melt. And I think that's fine because for game one of the season, what else would it be?
Here's a compromise. They wait 5 years and then they make an ultimate historical moment.
No.
He'll put the player in 5 years.
No. But that brings in another one because in the same game, Deontay Johnson had that catch. He doesn't have a legendary.
Oh my god.
I think that's like an auto Lejo.
There you go, auto Lejo.
It's an auto Lejo for this first set too. So, and Mike Evans needs a common, and although his touchdown catch was absolutely fantastic, I'd be fine if they made that his first common moment, falling down on his back.
Yeah, I think it's okay if they make commons really cool moments.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of tough because he that first moment needs to be a debut. So, if they make it a common, I'm okay with that. But it's definitely a legendary worthy play or game.
What are you talking about for Deontay? Or Minkah?
Sorry, for Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Minkah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, again, Bengals fan, I would be upset if they made that a common.
Agreed.
Like that, you're not going to see another defender have a game like that all year.
No, it was the definition of legendary. Like the whole defense played great, but to start the game off with a pick six, and then to finish it off with a blocked field goal, like he was the impact. He was the reason the Steelers won. Right? It wasn't the offense. They didn't do shit all game. Right? It was Minkah Fitzpatrick who started the game and then he finished the game. That's legendary. And that needs to be in that tier. And if that's his debut, it's a worthy debut. I mean, if you're gonna make a special case for somebody to have a legendary debut, make it that one. I'm on board.
Like there's another one you could even bring up. Will Dissly. He obviously didn't have one because he wasn't used in the Monday Night Challenge. He had 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I mean, granted, the first one wasn't really much of a play. It was a 35-yard touchdown where there was nobody within 100 yards of him, which makes no sense because the field's only 100 yards long. But like that would be his debut. Would you? I mean, there are the common player melts. So I mean, I guess I could see that with a tight end, but you can make a case to where not a legendary but a rare for the game he had.
I bet we get a lot of these answers in a blog this week.
Yeah,
I have a feeling that update's coming.
I'm sure AJ's over there shaking her head like, "Will you three shut the hell up?"
I'm making a request for a new low mint common set, say 4,000 mint. Call it pay dirt, and it's just a bunch of random players scoring a bunch of touchdowns in a game. All multi TD player melts.
Oh, you know what's cool is you know how NFL Red Zone they do every touchdown over the weekend and they make it one big highlight.
Yep.
Put that in NFT form and maybe make that like one of these accolades, right?
Yeah.
It's not a moment, it's an accolade. You achieve it on the way to a 5-star pack, or even do one of every field goal missed and put the Yakety Sax soundtrack behind it and make that a moment.
I feel like that was a personal shot at me again, but it's okay. Water under the bridge.
You'll have another shot at us in this season.
So we do have somebody who wants to come up and speak, and I think we've all wanted to get him on here. So I'll go ahead and let him talk.
I don't even know who it is.
Oh, you'll know. Let's give it a second. He's still connecting. Let's just give it a few minutes.
What's up, Cobalt?
There we go.
Yo, the man himself. How are you, my man? Love it.
Wait.
All right, we're putting Cobalt is going 60K trash.
No, that's like the 5th time this week where me and Cobalt comment the exact same thing back to back. We did that a couple times in ADU, and he had the same idea for a multi-team melt of these missed field goals. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot YouTube's not gonna be able to hear Cobalt, but
Well, I'm actually trying to put the speaker into my mic.
yeah, no, I don't. I definitely agree with that. Like maybe make it so yeah, you'll have the 5 challenges that can get you the 115. Maybe make it like 7, and then you can really decide like, okay, do I want to do these, or at least if you're going to keep it at 5, maybe do 2 super simple ones so people can get to pack 3 really easy, and then maybe make like a mid tier, one that if you're starting from scratch, it's going to come between 100 and 300, and then maybe make 2 more difficult ones to achieve. Granted, if it's tied to the game, they're not going to know, because I'm sure they thought the Monday night game was going to be difficult, and then it really turned out to be like the easiest one all week. But
So I think it kind of boils down to you still need it to be accessible with commons only for every collector to get 5 stars or the 5-star pack.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, they need to find a way to make it easier if you have a rare or a legendary. So that
yeah,
way they're not kind of ostracizing the common collectors, but at the same time, they're adding a perk and I guess you would say some utility on top of having a rare and a legendary to make it easier. And I think that would be a good way to balance it.
I think the one thing that needs to be added to that is just that I want to see them give people a reason to buy the rare over the common, because I mean I'm going to go back to the Russell Gage example where towards the end I think his common was just over $50 and his rare was like 80, but his rare was like $45 before the challenge and his common was like $5. So there was an outsized pouring into that. Into that common moment over the rare to the point where, you were going to lose less after the fact by buying the rare, but you didn't necessarily have any reason to do that. Like if you're fine with losing $5 to $10 more, and you just went and bought the common and that was that. But again, I don't think they need to mandate it, but like there needs to be a reason as to why should I go for the rare instead of chasing the common. Like, I don't know what that is. I don't really have an idea for it, but I just think it needs to be an option.
Yeah, and I bet you they already have thought about it, talked about it, worked on something. They have a lot of smart people on the team.
They do.
Yeah. It's been 1 week of the playbook, and I just honestly I can't wait to see if they add any twists or how they kind of spice it up in the next few playbooks, because I definitely think they'll change it up quite a bit. And I mean, we haven't even talked about this. I do believe that challenges and burning challenges outside of the playbook are still going to be a thing.
yeah,
And that may be where they keep going with the tiered challenges to continue rewarding those collectors who collect rares and legendaries with a rare reward pack and a legendary reward pack for those challenges. And they may go the same route with these burning challenges. I have no idea what those are going to look like or when that's coming, but I'm already starting to say when burning challenge. I'm filling in for a hoarder. That's hoarder's thing.
yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
no, I do think that's one thing because it was kind of like it was almost a throwaway question last week right before AJ was getting ready to leave, and you asked her about that, and I feel like a lot of people missed that comment about the challenges. Like we're still going to get the challenges we were used to, so don't think like those aren't coming. They're just trying to do these playbook ones for now. Maybe it might be week 3, week 4 before we see something like that. But once they do one, it'll be a lot easier for them to do 2, 3, 4, 5. might not be a 4-week break in between each one.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm excited.
I think at the very least we can assume that we're going to be busy as hell all season. Like,
Summer's over.
I
do
can't
want to
even
ask
talk.
this then. So yeah, so they decided to release the information in regards to the challenges basically an hour before the game starts. They obviously did that to get us to log in, to have us engage with the platform, right before a game, maybe throughout a game, right? Man, it's a bit overwhelming, but it was definitely a lot of fun. It kind of gets us into panic mode. We're all F5ing on the platform. Maybe that's why that first challenge didn't drop till 30 minutes before noon. But I don't know if I would. I don't know if I want all challenges to drop at the same time. At the beginning of the week. I still would rather them break it up throughout the week, but maybe the night before or 2 hours before, because man, that was chaotic. An hour before every game, going in there trying to figure out what you need to buy and sell. You forget you actually have a moment or don't have a moment.
Right. Well, I think what that does, at least, and just superficially, is it puts us all on the same. We're all in the same boat. Nobody's getting this information faster than anybody else. So, nobody has the advantage of the bot driven deep dive and all that other stuff. We're all getting it at the same time. You got an hour, figure it out. And if not, sit it out,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not something that's like make or break it. I still enjoyed that way of them dropping the challenge information an hour before. But man, it definitely, I mean, going between your Rumble lineup, your fantasy lineup, now your Playbook lineups. I mean, to be honest, I didn't even think about the Rumble lineup at all on Sunday and Monday until somebody mentioned. I was like, oh yeah. It's so funny because
I forgot that I could change it.
Yeah, we were all so thirsty for something to interact with. And, we talked about Rumble just like for a month straight, and then once the Playbook dropped, we all kind of forgot about it for a little bit. And kudos to them, because they obviously had us engaged with their platform, and it was there for us the entire weekend.
You know what was really wild? The carnage in the ADU survivor pool, and probably every survivor pool. We went from 38 participants to 12 after 1 week.
Crazy. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Denver.
I'm over. Yeah. Thanks, Ravens.
That's what I should have went with.
You put yourself in a hole by betting on the Seahawks to win a game, or the Broncos with Russell Wilson playing the Seahawks in a primetime game. The Seahawks in primetime games are just the weirdest team ever. They have the wildest games, the wildest finishes. It's like you have a heart attack watching them. If you were a fan, man, God bless.
I always think those trends are thrown out the window in week 1 because literally anything can happen. And I'm always skeptical of, first time quarterbacks, first time offensive coordinators, not first time career, but just first time of that season, of that particular job. There's always a learning curve. There's always a few bumps in the road. And I think I had a discussion in ADU with somebody about that in regards to the LA Bills game on Thursday. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a shootout. This is going to be a shootout. I was like, I don't know, man. Both these offenses are great. Both these defenses are great, but it's week 1. Like, it could be 41-38. It could be 17-13. Week 1, literally anything can happen. And I mean, I think the Steelers beat the Bills last year for no apparent reason. I think it was like a 10-7 game. And it's like any week 1, anything can happen. So I try to take the surest bets that I can see, at least on week 1, and then try to hopefully save my good teams for down the road if I need them. But
people tend to overreact to week 1 too. On the other side of things, people think Trey Lance is never going to amount to anything, and it's
he played in a rainstorm.
First game, monsoon type weather. Write him off, sure. I was hoping he would do something to get a common, because he just has a legendary at the moment. But I think we'll have to wait another few weeks.
I do think we can all agree the slide at the end of the game.
Showtime, baby.
Yeah, like that needs to be a team moment going into season 2.
You know what? The Bears don't have a common team moment. They just have a rare. So maybe a legendary too, but
I
maybe
think AJ's
that's
heart
just
button is
surest bet.
broken on
Yeah,
Twitter because she
Hashtag.
just sent like a million of them. But
Hash-
yeah,
yeah.
we were all Bears fans for that 35 seconds, AJ. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
that-
AJ is going to make that happen. Let's not put it past her.
Hashtag all day that play.
Yeah.
All day that play. Let's go.
Now they're gonna be mad at us. It's supposed to be all day play.
It can be both.
Yeah.
It rolls off the tongue for me. Anything else? Anything else from the weekend slate of games that you guys wanted to mention? A lot of great games, a lot of missed field goals. That's for sure.
As a Chiefs fan, I'm doing nothing but looking forward to tomorrow because the Chiefs play the Chargers.
Oh yeah,
That's going to be such a fun game. Chiefs' first game at home. You have Herbert and Mahomes. What else could you ask for? Unfortunately, though, our first-round rookie cornerback, McDuffie, he suffered a hamstring injury, so he's out 4 weeks, put on IR. So we have a very, very young secondary. We have like a 4th and 7th round rookie cornerback, I think, that are going to be back there against Herbert. I'm not sure how they're going to hold up, but I just can't wait for that game. Keenan Allen's out too, which kind of, it's, one for one, eye for an eye, I guess. I just can't wait for tomorrow.
That's okay. The new ADU love child, Josh Palmer, will will tear that defense apart, I'm sure.
Well, shoot, forget Palmer. I wanted Carter. Get me that guy. He looked good. But I think what you're basically saying is hammer the over. So is that what you're saying, Brett?
Not financial advice. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
Not financial advice.
No, I definitely think that game tomorrow night is going to be a shootout.
I do too.
I mean, I guess the Chargers probably have a little bit of a better defense than the Chiefs. I don't really know if anybody can disagree with that.
If anything, they got guys who can get after Mahomes, so his ability to create on the run is going to be tested for sure.
But yeah, I see that game being like one of those 35-32 type games, something like
that. Yeah.
There's definitely a history of Thursday night games and them not being as high scoring as you would expect because of the quick turnaround. And especially after week 1, their bodies are trying to, work through what the year's going to feel like. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of points. What's the over/under at the moment for the game?
No,
I'll have to look that up. Yeah,
it's hammer.
I want to say it was like 47.
You guys have to keep talking while I look for it.
So I guess aside from our own teams, is there a game this weekend that is really kind of standing out as the one you want to watch?
54.5 points. 54. So they think it's going to be a shootout.
Yeah,
that's really not that high. That's what? That's 27, 24. Yeah, 54.5. That's 27, 27. Yeah, you're right. 20, 28, 31, 28. I think that's reasonable.
I can do a little bit of math.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So sorry, what was that question?
Yeah. So aside from the Chiefs game, what's the one game this weekend you're kind of looking forward to being able to watch?
For as many times as I looked at the there's a lot of good games. Like I had a hard time, picking my my survivor pool games this week because there's none that are super cut and dry. All the teams either seem evenly matched, well matched up, or my thoughts of these teams going into the season are now different after week 1. Not that I'm overreacting to it, but at least accepting the fact that they may be better than I originally thought or worse than I originally thought.
Yeah. I mean, you have the Vikings and the Eagles on Monday night. You have the Titans and the Bills. I don't think anybody expected the Titans to be 0-1 starting the year. And then now they're going to have to go up against the Bills. So potentially the number 1 seed in the AFC from last year is going to start 0-2. Because they're definitely not going to be favored. I mean, they're 10-point underdogs against the Bills. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
See, they're here.
Bears look good. Not the Bears, the Bills. They just
look. Right now, they're head and shoulders above everyone else, in my opinion. Even the KC, I think they're just far better than them. But
push back on the pushback on no.
I mean, I'm not saying it's again, overreacting to week 1. I might be doing that. They could be completely even teams, but yeah, I was defending Super Bowl champion to absolutely just boat race them was super impressive. But I think the thing that is kind of true of the modern NFL, at least since the salary cap has come into into reality, regardless of whether you believe it's effective or not, is that it has absolutely made the difference between the best team and the worst team so much smaller than it has ever been in history. So it takes smaller and smaller moves to improve team to pick up 4 to 5 wins. Like, you know, an 0-16 team can be a 9-7 team the next year just by picking up 1 or 2 of the right pieces or not having injuries. You know, not losing your star running back or your wide receiver for the year. You know, all of a sudden, okay, now that's a 2-win differential just having this guy for a whole season. So, you know, it's hard to make judgments and predictions on the current year based on last year because the smallest things mean the biggest differences, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing it's not true for all 32 teams. Just look at the Browns. Sorry,
Even
I had to say it.
even the Bengals can look down on the Browns.
Yeah.
Hey, we went from number 1 and then number 5 and then Super Bowl the next year. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen, but because of the salary cap, and you know, if you have a wizard like the Rams apparently do with the salary cap numbers, like any team can really make a move, like you said, from one
Yeah.
February to the next, you know, September, you can be a completely different team.
Yeah. I mean, and even,
I
you know,
am also.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I'm also really looking forward to that Bears-Packers game because
Yeah.
the Packers last year got blown out week 1, and then they were fine the rest of the year. Blown out again week 1 this year. You know, can Fields kind of keep improving? Are they actually going to put together a solid team and compete against teams like the Packers? Well, I don't know if the Packers are any good, but I think we'll learn a lot watching this Bears and Packers game, and I'm sure AJ agrees that's the best game on the slate.
Yeah, I think I read something earlier. In the last 29 Packers Bears games, the Bears have won 4 games. I mean, that's
been that lopsided.
Yeah,
Oof.
I mean, that's just domination.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Look, after week 1, Rodgers was missing wide open receivers. Granted, he had some drops. I mean, I saw one where it literally hit the dude in the numbers and he didn't even get a finger on it. But yeah, I don't know if Green Bay is going to be the Green Bay we all are used to.
I nearly made Green Bay my pick in that game for Survivor Pool, and somebody had mentioned to me before this past week's of games that, you know, it was a Bears fan. Somebody in the chat might have been Spivey.
Bayak.
It could have been Bayak actually. Yeah, one of those two. But they had mentioned that in the games that Akeem Hicks missed last year, they gave up an absurd amount of rushing yards. Now they don't have him at all. You know, he's off playing with.
Is he in Tampa?
I think he went to Tampa. He went to Tampa. Yeah. So now he's in Tampa. Now Khalil Mack is in LA with the Chargers. Are they going to be able to stop that rushing attack? Because it's clear that Green Bay wants to really push Dillon and Jones. Like, they threw the ball a good bit, but they got behind quick too, so they really couldn't lean into the running game, I think, as much as they wanted to. So I think that's going to be a determining matchup in that game, is can the Bears stop that running attack of the Packers? Because if they can't, then they don't have a chance. But if they can, then okay, now we got a game. What's going to happen?
Yeah, Justin Fields will throw for, you know, another 130 yards or something like that, and they'll somehow sneak out a win.
Yeah, well, if he runs for 100, that's still 230 all purpose. Lamar Jackson gets by on that.
I do not accept any Lamar Jackson slander, okay?
Fair enough. All right, guys, you got anything else for this week?
I do not. It's been a fun week. I'm just ready for week number 2.
This was a fun.
What time does that challenge drop for the Thursday night game?
I thought they said
it'd be at the same time. That was like
check back at 12 Eastern.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we get plenty of time before the game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really curious to see if they mix it up at all with that challenge, or if they're going to stick with the structure they have. Just kind of a curious tidbit, but I'll be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah, I'm bated breath, sitting here. I'm waiting, can't wait.
I'm not gonna lie. I think they probably go the touchdown route. I feel like that one kind of makes the most sense for this one, but we'll see.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be the receiving one again.
I'm still hanging my hat on the sack one.
And if it is,
it's the
we'll let you gloat
it's the
for, we'll let
it's
you
the
gloat for
perfect
30
pivot.
minutes tomorrow.
It's the perfect pivot. All right, guys. Well, this was an awesome pod, man. Really enjoyed this episode with you guys. Thanks everybody for listening, hanging out. Spaces on YouTube. We'll try to figure out some way to integrate the guest speakers on Spaces into YouTube. Maybe I just have to keep sticking my headphones onto the microphone, but because if it works, and I won't argue with the results. But yeah, for all of us here at ADU, Bestie, Andrew, Brett, Who Day All Day, me, you, together.
10 names we go by.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to have a list on my computer screen next time.
Yeah, you need my Twitter name, my Discord name, my real life name, my all day name. Please run through them all.
All right, guys. Have yourselves a great night. Once again, we are the Under the Lights podcast from AD Unlimited. Come check us out on Discord. Come become a part of the group if you're not already. Go see the folks over at the all day Discord as well. Go pop into the all day general chat it's called now.
Yeah.
AD Gen.
Right?
All right, AD Gen. That sounds about right. Go go over in there, get to know AJ and that crew too, and become part of the family if you aren't already. So, yeah, for all of us, thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys next week. Same bat time, same